Go ahead and hop on track with our Pro-Am lobby for tonight. Also going to run an hour around Road Atlanta. There he is. Mafka's finally in the chat now. There, Remy, is that better? I got rid of the qualifying thing on it. All right, hopping on board with our Pro-Am lobby in their first race of the Sigma GT Challenge Series pops off. Everyone's on their out laps right now. We got Sweaty Palm sitting here out in front. The first FT Concept Group 3 car that we've seen in the night. Representing Flying Fox Racing Team on his end. Popping down to SoCal. SoCal in the first Aston that we've seen of the evening. Getting a little bit of variety coming through the cars here. That's what we like to see. Diamond, thanks for coming around. Both you lucky guys, I appreciate the follows coming through. Thank you. Let's check on board with Merch. Merch, he's rocking himself a Mazda Concept Group 3 as well, but let Rosario go by there. Rocking a 911 RSR GT3 car. Hopping on down here, Captain. Looks like Captain also running himself a 911 as well. Run a little bit wide through T1's gonna pick up a little bit of grass there on his first hot lap, and picking up a little bit of the immovable tire barrier, a little bit of front left tire damage. Not gonna be the end of the world though. He's got plenty of time left in this qualifier. Can't show favorites to the Lexus, but we're gonna show favorites to the Lexus. Jenny in her Flying Fox Lexus, running the green and white livery there. Good looking car. Captain Blade running his TCR a 911 machine. Bottle fed Mustang. Not in a Mustang. He's going to go ahead and he's going to be another one of our drivers in the Mercedes GT3 car this evening. Stacking representing the Sonic GTR with the VPR Racing Team. And we got Erk Oni following it up here, taking an unfortunate pit line penalty with a good-looking NSX, the first one that we've seen of that tonight as well. So Sweaty coming around for his first lap here, setting a 1:17.3. SoCal 1:17.7. So we get up for third place. Rosario comes through with a 17.3. And Merch not able to get into the 17s there, setting himself at 18.6. The top on board with Method and Tinsley. Method setting a 19.2, but here, Merch gonna hold on to his position there. Nosfox coming through with a 17.7. Bottlefed running his Mercedes along the line there. Yeah, Sniper, I do have these guys on. So let's go ahead and, well, while they're qualifying. Let's just see who it is. Ah, I got it on the first one. How about that? That said, Bottlefed coming through a P3 with his time in his Mercedes Group 3 car. Nosfox and the Mustang good enough for P4 with 17.7. Getting a little close to Clive there. Maybe want to try to pick up a little bit of slipstream, even though we've got it turned off for qualifying. Chip, thank you for the follow, buddy. It was awesome watching you guys race in the last lobby. You all did outstanding. That VOD is going to be something else when we upload it here later. Nosfox making his way around Clive. And Nos for his third lap is going to go ahead and set a 19.1. Not quite as good as his second lap. He's going to go ahead and sit in 6th place now. Rosario picking up a 17.2. He's going to go ahead and take the top spot right now. Sweaty not too far behind with 17.3 that he set on his first flying lap. Hopping down here with SoCal 17.4. A little bit closer together with these drivers here on their lap times. If I remember right, during qualifying, the entire Pro-Am lobby, 0.6 of a second apart between 15 drivers. SoCal coming along down the back straight here. Getting ready to come up to the final chicane. We're going to have Rosario coming through first here. So let's go ahead and hop on board with actually Sweaty, who's going to go ahead and cross the line first. See if he's going to be able to improve along his time at all. The Sweaty coming down the hill towards start-finish line. Setting a lap time of 17.3. Not quite his best lap time. Rosario 17.4. SoCal also 17.4. And Jenny throwing the Lexus around with a 17.5 for her first flying lap, or second flying lap time. Gets knocked down though by Zester and Nosfox. Zester coming through here now in fourth place with a 17.3, only a tenth off of P1. SoCal 17.4. We got TCR Captain starting to put in some time of 17.5, but goes wide through T1 off into the grass, gonna hit the tire barrier that doesn't move for anybody. So he's going to have to chalk off this lap and start again on the next one. Picking up here with Nosfox, who knocked Jenny down in his Mustang here at the 17.5. But Jenny also with a little bit higher, 17.5. Is not going to give up without a fight here. Let's check on board with Bottle Fed, dropping down the time chain here. His 17.6 not holding up to these guys, picking up 17.3s and 4s now. Hopping on board with Clyde, running at a 17.8. Method at a 18.1. Merch checking in here at an 18.4, coming down to the final chicane. Let's stick on board with him here and see what kind of lap time he's going to put through. Merch coming across the final corner of start finish line at 18.3. It's not going to be good enough to move his position, but does improve upon his best lap time just a little bit here. Popping on board with Urquhart at 18.6. He's getting ready to come along to the first, I'm sorry, come along to the back straight. Seems like the kid here is a friend of Tims's. What's up, buddy? Welcome along. Tom, with the follow, you legend. I appreciate you. Tinsley running his Mustang ragged, popping the first 16 of the night into a 16.9. And Clive also starting to find a little bit of horsepower now with the 17.1. Nosfox getting out of the way of the guys on their flying lap. Well done to you, sir. Appreciate seeing that. Rosario, 17.2, still good enough for third place. Tinsley's in a Mercedes, you donuts. And Bottle Fed is in a Mercedes, you donuts. Rosario, 17.1, going to be good enough for second place, just taking that position away from Clive. 0.02 of a second separating him. Clive, though, pushing the car down the hill towards the start-finish line. Tinsley right on his bumper. Clive's going to improve it all. Nope, 17.8. Tinsley still at his 16.9, going to be good enough for first place. Let's pop down the field here a little bit. Sweaty Palms picking himself up a track limit penalty at 17.3, going to be good enough for fourth place now, but going purple. Unfortunately, not going to do him any good as he's going to have to serve that track limit penalty here as he comes out of the keyhole corners. On board with Zester in his spicy 911 that he's designed here, running a 17.3. Good enough for fifth place right now, but not too far ahead of Bottle Fed here in his Mercedes. 0.04 of a second separating P5 and P6 right now. Let's stick on board with Bottle Fed here as he gets ready to come out of the first sector. Is he going to go purple? Nope, but he is going to go blue. That's going to be good enough to take some positions away from some of them. SoCal here, 17.4 that he set on his third lap. Still good enough lap time for him, keeping him in seventh place. Got Captain Blade here in his 911 with 17.5. Nosfox, 17.5 as well. A little style coming through the corner there. Gotta love to see the Mustangs drifting. Little RTR influence in his driving style there. Jenny, 17.5 with her Lexus, knocking down to 10th place after throwing through the flyer earlier. Hop on board with Method here. Method, first one I've seen in a spicy RSR with a 17.6. Pushing T1 wide. We haven't given him enough screen time here. Let's stay on board with Method as he comes through the right-hander, coming downhill through the S's. Method, good looking livery on his RSR that he's running there. I love seeing the black and blue. Method coming out of the first sector now, going blue for himself, not too much, but if he holds on to that, he will take P10 away from Jenny. Matt, buddy, thank you for the follow. So, Method coming through the keyhole here. He's got the skinny pedal down as far as it will go, trying to pick up as much time as he can, sticking on board with him. He's getting ready to go into the third sector now. What's the time looking like? He's down almost 2/10. So lost a little bit of time through his second sector there. Tinsley making a move up, going the inside of Clive. And decides to think better of it. This is qualifying. I can just slot in behind him and take the juicy slipstream that doesn't exist in qualifying. Method with 17.9. Drivers coming through, finishing up their laps now. So Tinsley.
Yo, Tinsley. Yo. Yo.
Tinsley out nice. In P1. Rosario P2 17.1. Nice. Clive also with a 17.1. 200ths of a second separating these guys. Zester.
That's actually the fastest I've
329 and Sweaty with a 17.334.9. I'm sorry, 5 thousandths of a second separating these guys here. Having aboard 16.9 for our top position, 18.9 for our last, 2 seconds separating this group of drivers here tonight. Gonna take a few minute break, let these guys get us a little snacky poo. Then we're going to get this race started, everyone. Stick around. 3. Alright, everybody, race is getting ready to start for the Pro-Am lobby. Going to take their 1 hour around Road Atlanta. Let's go ahead, hop down onto the track with them here. Don't forget, like we said, unfortunately, you have to stick into the chase cam until somebody goes into pits, and then we'll have our spectate view because Gran Turismo is a AAA title. We do have false starts on. Anybody going to take it? Doesn't look like it here. We got Tinsley out in front, Rosario in second, Clive picking up here P3, but Zester's pushing that Porsche a little bit better start. Clive finding himself in the middle of the drivers here, getting tapped a little bit wide. There's going to find the grass, but does manage to hold on to a little bit of a touch into the wall, unfortunately. So both two drivers there taking the outside-inside through T1, trying to go 3 wide. Unfortunately not working out for Clive there. Finding a little bit of wall through the first lap, but we still have plenty of racing to go. We got a 1 hour event tonight. We got Tinsley out in front, followed by Rosario. We got Bottlefed here sitting in P3. Sweaty taking P4 away from there. SoCal sitting here at P5 right now. Jenny pushing that Lexus up into P6 after starting in, I believe, P10 or 11. We've got Captain here in P7. Unfortunately, picking himself up a half-second track limit penalty along the way somewhere, so he's going to go ahead and serve that here, which should go ahead and give Nosfox an opportunity to slide on up into the DMs there and take P7 away from the Captain. Captain trying to take that inside line, but not going to be able to hold enough speed to make anything happen. Deep on the brakes, though. Does protect that inside line off of Nosfox there. So did lose a little bit of time to that penalty, but still managing to hold on to P7. We're going to stick on board with these two here as they both come into P1 bumper to bumper. So Fox letting out of it just a little bit there, not wanting to go into the back of Captain. Respectable move from them. So he's going to go ahead and slide into 8th place, but we've got Merch sliding in right behind here in P9. He's got his hive of bumblebees under the hood, pushing him as hard as he can, trying to catch up to Fox's Mustang there. A little bit more grip than Nos Fox did, but Nos Fox pushing all the torque that Mustang has, try to increase that gap a little bit. Top on board with Yak here, another member of the VPR racing team, running his blue and gold GTR here. Only just a little over a second off of P9 for right now, but does have a 5-second gap between himself and Zester, who has fallen down into the pack into P12, unfortunately. Might have had a little bit of repercussions from having that little touch with Clive there over in P1. Rocket, Neva, Games, Cornstick guys for the follows. I appreciate you all guys coming through and giving the follow, watching the Pro-Am race. Y'all did wonderful in your amateur race, by the way. That was one of the best races I've called in a while, so well done to you guys. Zester holding on to P11 here, just in front of Urk. Only got 0.3 of a second separating these two guys. Urk and his NSX trying to hold on to whatever space he can between himself and Zester, taking a little bit more of an inside turn. He's going to have to get on the brakes a little bit more. Zester holding a wide line, increasing that gap now to almost a second separating him. Does hit that 1 second mark. Popping down here with Clive, who's trying to make up a little bit of time after that off. Only 20 seconds off of first place. Could have been in a much worse position. Did manage to hold on to the car. And we got Method, though, not far behind here in his RSR. I'm sorry, his RSO1. Going off the pack. Let's hop back up to the top of the pack here. We've got Tinsley still sitting out in front in his Mercedes, 1.3 ahead. All drivers going purple on the second lap now. We'll get more better idea of fast lap time here once they cross. Tinsley finding another gear coming up through the final chicane down the hill, getting ready to cross start finish line. And it's 17.7. Rosario not far behind, the 17.495, taking a fast lap away from Tinsley. Only briefly holding on to it. Rosario might have cut that curb a little bit. Going to get a half-second penalty here. Well, Game didn't think so. Game says you're safe, so you can continue on. Both drivers here, bottom of the S is coming up to the left-hander here. Tinsley still with that 1 second gap between himself and Rosario. Hopping on board with Bottle Fed here, losing a little bit of time to Rosario, starting on a soft tires. Rosario and Tinsley also starting soft tires, trying to get a little bit of gap between themselves and the rest of the field while they can. Sweaty sitting 1.5 seconds behind off of P3. Trying to squeeze every bit of power out of that Toyota that he can. We'll stay on board with him here for just a little bit as he gets ready to come up to the final chicane here. Sweaty hard on the anchors at the line for the final chicane, taking a little bit of curb here with him. So hard on the power, Sweaty coming down the hill across start finish line, going to set himself in 19.01. So Sweaty still sitting here in P4, less than 2 seconds separating himself and Bottle Fed up there in P3. Bottle Fed still 4 seconds off the top two up there. And Tinsley starting to push a little bit more, find a little bit more of a gap between himself and Rosario now, 1.7 seconds separating these two drivers. Let's pop back down to the bottom of the field here. We got SoCal in P5 running consistent 19s, it looks like. He went ahead and started on the medium tire. So losing a little bit of grip compared to the front runners there, but it's going to be able to last a little bit longer than those guys and hopefully be able to pick himself up a cut when those guys have to inevitably go into the pits first after their tires wear down. Captain also running consistent 19s, 2 seconds separating himself and SoCal, but Jenny not far behind there in the green and white Flying Fox Lexus, only a second separating herself and the captain there. We're going to stick on board with her as she comes down the hill up to the final chicane. See if she's going to be able to pick up any time on the captain here. Jenny hard on the brakes at the line. Picking up a little bit of curb. Running it smooth through there. Hard on the power coming up the hill. She does pick up about 1/10 of a second or so off of the captain there. She's going to come through, setting herself at 18.5, so picking up a little bit of pace and time throughout that last lap. Nosfox isn't far behind, less than a second, now only a half second behind off of Jenny here. Trying to push his Mustang to keep up with the V8 and the Lexus as best as he can. Running clean through, you see that counter steering pop up a little bit there. It is costing him a little bit of time with that. But he is closing that delta to himself and Jenny now. Half second though, growing to a 6. Now down to that half second again. Is he going to get a little bit better turn through the corner here? Not exactly. Looks like Jenny's going to go ahead and hold on to P7, not worry about Nosfox picking up too much extra time there. Still 0.6 of a second separating these two. Merch 2 seconds off the rest of the drivers right there in his Mazda, trying to get the hive of bees to give him a little bit more power under the hood there. God, that car does sound great going down a straightaway though, doesn't it? And we got Yak in his GTR 3 seconds behind of Merch there. Zester running on medium tire. He's running himself 18s and 19s, but the unfortunate off through lap 1 did cause him to drop down the order here just a little bit. But no problem now. Driver's still going to have to pit at some point. It's going to change up our order immensely. Popping on board with Urk in his NSX. Urk running 19 seconds, 18-second lap time on that one. So it looks like all drivers starting to find a little bit of consistency here. Let's pop on board with Clive again. Clive, an unfortunate victim of circumstances. He had two drivers trying to overtake him either side, coming through T1 on lap 1. Clive did start P3, but then did drop down the pack down into P13. Still, though, sitting less than a second behind off of Urk. He is in the magic slipstream range. As long as he stays within that 0.7 of a second range, he should be able to pick up a little bit of time behind him. Let's go ahead and hop back with Method here. Rounding out our grid order. He is running consistent 19s as well. Did run a 20 on his last one, but only 29 seconds off of the lead up here. Method running medium tires compared to our front runners on their sauce. And he might be able to get himself a little bit of a cut once these guys go ahead and go into the pits. Popping back on board with our leaders here. We got Tinsley still making his way out front here now. 1 second gap. We checked in last time, now to a 3 second gap. Rosario also doing the same thing here, increasing to a 5 second gap between himself and P3, where Bottlefed is sitting comfortably. Just under 3 seconds separating himself and a Sweaty Palms here. 2 seconds between him and SoCal. SoCal a little squirrely as we pick him up coming through the left-hander here. Does manage to hold on to it. Didn't go over the curb, pick up a penalty though. Less than a second separating himself and the captain back here. Both drivers clean and easy as they come out of the keyhole right-handers here. SoCal just within slipstream range. Looks like he had a little bit of a better exit and he's starting to pick up a little bit more time there. Not going to be enough time to make any moves though. We're going to hop on board with this one, though, as Nosfox tries to make his move along the outside of Jenny and her Lexus here. Jenny protecting the inside line coming through the chicane. And Captain's heading off. Captain pushing the brakes a little too hard. Is he going to... Almost an unsafe rejoin. Does manage to just miss Fox and his Mustang there. So Captain, a little bit too late on the brakes. Had to push it out into the sand. Had to give up that P6 there to Jenny. And Nosfox anticipating a possible moment, backing out a little bit of his battle with Jenny there. He's going to have to make up a little bit more time. Looks like Fox does have a little bit more speed and pace through T1 there. Jenny keeping a little bit cleaner, though, through the top of the S's. But here comes Nosfox again, closing that delta down. And Jenny not quite as fast through the left-hander there coming out of the S's. That's going to give Nosfox another opportunity to try to take an inside line here. The Nosfox does take the inside line. A little bit of contact there from the front bumper. Jenny, nothing too bad, though. Sliding back on board with her, sitting all in the bumper. Not happy about giving that P6 up to the Fox there. She's going to try to slip into slipstream. Which position she's going to try to take here. A little bit of a bump draft from her. She's going to take... Jenny tries to take that move along the inside line. If she can get out ahead of Fox here through the corner, she should be able to hold it there. A little bit of contact from both the drivers again. Fox returning the favor of the front bumper tap to Jenny. Jenny with a nice clean line down the inside takes P6 back away from Fox there. Quite the battle going back and forth for P6 there between Jenny and the Fox. Picking up with Captain here. Captain's got to be enjoying the battle going on with both of those. And Jenny goes a little bit too wide to T1. Jenny not quite on the brakes, getting a little brave through there, trying to hold on to a little bit of that delta, and the dirty tires sliding her around a little bit as she tries to come down through the S's. That's going to give Merch and Zester an opportunity to get around as well. Unfortunate situation for Jenny there, but was able to keep a hold of the car, doesn't take any damage. All she's going to have to worry about is handling those tires here in the next few laps. So let's pop back on board with these guys here. Captain, P7 now, after Jenny's off. A little squirrely coming out of the keyholes there. Manages to hold on to the car. Merch in his Mazda taking P8. Only a half second, though, separating himself and Zester now. Zester trying to find a little bit of slipstream. Jay Snipes, Rocket, thank you for follows, guys. I really appreciate you coming around and watching out the races. Zester hard on the anchors. Ooh, very close. Decides he's going to go ahead and take the escape through the sand instead of having a moment there with Merch. Appreciate you taking one for the team there, Zester. Back on track and back to battle you go. Ert going to go ahead and slide in, take P10 away, while Zester goes ahead and gets his car settled again. You know, Yak saw that yellow flag pop up. Music to his eyes, no doubt, as he is now only 2 seconds off of Zester. And Zester pushing wide on the dirty tires there. Oh, unsafe rejoin. Method taking front end damage as Zester not able to control the car, sliding down the middle of the track there. Method not taking any engine damage though, so that should wear off pretty quickly. It's not going to affect his delta too much between himself and Clive. That damage should wear off by the time he gets up here for the start of the keyhole. And there goes the damage for Method. So Method T-boning Zester into oblivion. Nothing anybody could do in that situation, though. Zester running wide due to dirty tires. Slid out into the middle of the track. I saw him full on brake. Nothing he could do. Method coming up the top of the hill. That's a blind spot. You can't see that. Total race incident there in my book. Method holding on to P12 now, trying to pick up a little bit of time to Yak here. Less than 2 seconds separating these two drivers. Clive now stopped into P13. Zester here. Zester rejoining halfway through his fuel and his medium tires. A little bit of work that he's going to have to do if he wants to try to get back out and be a problem for the front runners here. Hopping back out front, Tinsley ruining his front tires 15 minutes into this race here. Still has over a quarter tank of fuel left. What's his play going to be? It looks like he's going to go ahead and pit for new tires now. Ooh, flirting with that pit line a little bit. Not sure if he's going to pick up a penalty or not for that one. Rosario a little bit better with the tire management there. Is going to go ahead and take P1 away on the cut there, while Tinsley is in the pits. Bottlefed also going to probably get a cut here on Tinsley as well. Coming down the hill across start finish line, easily getting a cut for himself. Bottlefed's going to go ahead and keep on going on his soft. Sweaty, first driver of the grid with the medium tires, sitting in P3 now, sitting on podium. Running 18s and 19s for his lap times, being incredibly consistent. So let's see what happened with Tinsley here. Tinsley crossed pit line, picked up that 3 seconds. We all saw it there, chat. Unfortunate, but we are only 16 minutes into this race. Plenty of time for action left. Also being one of the first to pit might be able to pick up an opportunity for a cut. Now we've got Jenny popping into the pits now. Her front soft tires virtually gone. Jenny's already had her pit stop. She's going to go ahead and come out of the pits now. She's going to hold that line very smoothly coming out of the pits. No pit line penalty for her. Does drop to the bottom of the field, though, to be expected, as she was one of the first ones to pit. They got Rosario coming in for pits. His soft tire is getting ready to let go. That's going to give Sweaty an opportunity to go ahead and build a little bit of time. So Sweaty's going to go ahead and stay out with a quarter tank of fuel and over half of his medium tires left over here. SoCal coming into P2, also on medium tires. Not as well on the fuel, though. Aston a little bit more thirsty than what Sweaty's driving there with just a quarter of a tank left. Sweaty's FT, though, doing quite well on the fuel. We got Fox in the Mustang, to be expected, drinking fuel with that big hefty VA up front. Medium tires looking good, but we've got the captain making a creep on him now. So Nosfox going along the outside here, leaving the door open for captain, maybe take the inside line, has a peek, thinks better of it. Might try to have himself a move here through the second part of the keyhole. He does. Both drivers side by side coming out of the keyhole corners, and Fox is going to go ahead and take P3 away from... I'm sorry, Captain's going to take P3 away from Fox. Very clean move along the inside coming out of the keyhole corner there, but Fox not giving up, only 0.4 of a second behind. Slurping up all the juicy slipstream that Captain's giving him here. Is he going to try to make a move along the inside? He has a peek, thinks about it, thinks better of it. It's going to hold the outside line behind Captain there and think about it a little bit later on down the line. Hopping on board with Merch, not far behind P3 and 4 battle right now. Sitting in P5 coming through the final chicane, getting ready to come down the hill through the start-finish line. Save for one lap, running 19s in and out through his lap times. Consistency is what is going to win endurance racing. And the commentator's curse strikes, and Merch has an off at T1 going full John Deere mode. Hopping on board here with Irk in his NSX, getting a little slidey as he comes through T1 as well. Does hold on to the car, though. Getting a little squirrely under braking as he comes through the right-hander. Irk running 19s and 20s for his lap times. And Tinsley not far behind. Tinsley picking up a fresh set of medium tires, full tank of fuel. He's going to start pushing, trying to get back positions that he lost while he was pitting. Method also putting in some work in his RSO1 there, but Yak not far behind. We're going to stick on board with these two here. Yak, little bit of contact there with the RSO1, but not too bad. Trying everything he can to make a move around Method. Both drivers pushing wide as they come out of the keyhole there. So Method looking for any bit of power that RSO1 can give him, but Yak is pushing through the slipstream here. It's going to take the outside line. Method's going to try to protect the inside. The Yak with the slipstream there manages to get out in front. Method slotting right behind him there. And now we got Clive up into 10th place, picking up some time from everyone else pitting. And Yak spins! Yak spins coming down the hill up to the start-finish line. We can't see it there because where the wall is. So Yak losing that P10 to Rosario, dropping down into P12, but still with a decent gap to himself and Jenny. But Jenny's just now coming down the hill, so that 20-second gap is absolutely going to wither away now. 8 seconds, 7 seconds, 6 seconds. Gap is absolutely dropping down. Jenny on fresh medium tires, full tank of fuel. She is going to get a cut on Yak as long as she doesn't let him get too far ahead here. And Zester still sitting in P14, eventually going to need to pit as well. He's got a 7-second gap between himself and Jenny. Hopping back on board with P1. Sweaty still in P1 on his medium tires. He's going to try to push this car one more lap on the fuel that he's got. Fuel light is on for Sweaty right now. 5 seconds ahead of Captain. Captain in the same boat. A little bit more fuel, but the fuel light still screaming at him on the dashboard there. Both drivers' medium tires wearing down even more throughout every lap. Nosfox sitting in 3rd place. 1, 2, and 3 will need to pit for fuel and replace tires here within the next lap or two. That should give Merch the opportunity to have a lap or two to himself in P1, providing he doesn't go into the pits. Not on a fuel light yet. Erk picking up a little bit of damage somewhere along the line to the front right of the car. That's going to lose him a little bit of time and speed. We can see Method creeping up on him already here. So Erk, Method, and Clive, 5, 6, and 7 in a line as they come down into the keyhole corners here. Lisa, 2 months, you legend. I appreciate you. But Method all over the rear bumper of Erk, sitting in his mirror like an oil painting right now. Erk going to the outside here. Method trying to stay on him. Clive trying to bake his way along the inside line here as these drivers come down the hill to the final chicane. Clive taking the inside line. And Erk closing the door on him, but Clive's going to go ahead and take a P6 away from Method there. Very clean move from Clyde coming along the inside line there. Very smart maneuver on his part. That's going to drop Method down into P7 with Rosario right on his bumper behind in P8. Fox, Sweaty, Captain, all going into the pits. So we've had a complete change here. Clive, a little bit of contact there. A little bit of door rubbing from Clive as he takes P2 away from Method there. We got Merch sitting out in front still. 10-second gap separating these two drivers. But only a half second separating P2 and 3 here between Clive and Method. So we're going to stick on board with these two guys here as they come through the keyhole corners. So Method still sitting all over him there. Rosario trying to make a move along Erk here. Pushing that 911 as much as he can past Erk's NSX. He's ahead, but Erk's going to hold on to the inside lines. We have a drag race coming down the bottom of the hill here up to the final chicane. Erk holding on the inside line. Hard on the anchors first. Rosario cuts the door closed on him, takes the inside line, holds on to P4. Erk going to have to settle for P5. He's going to go ahead and go into the pits, and he needs fuel anyway. Great racing from those two, drag racing down the last straightaway there. So Merch finally giving up. Is going to go into the pits, change out tire and fuel. That's going to give Clive the opportunity now to take P1 with Method moving up into P2 and Rosario moving up into P3. Clive just under a quarter tank of fuel, halfway over his medium tires, doing very good with his fuel and tire management during this race. Method doing very well with his tire management, using up a little bit more fuel though. That could just be down to the car. And Rosario, having already pit, should be able to take P1 away from these two here since they're inevitably going to have to pit within the next few laps. Picking up on board with a bottle fed here, 2 seconds separating himself and Rosario. 5-second gap to himself and Sweaty there. He doesn't have anything to worry about behind him. His focus is solely on the cars in front of him. And like I said, with the top 2 runners needing to pit soon, he should be able to pick up a P2, no problem at all with pit cut. Sweaty and SoCal, less than a second separating these two drivers here. Sweaty at P5, SoCal in P6. Sweaty trying to squeeze every bit of power out of that FC Toyota that he can to pick up as much time as he can over SoCal in his Aston. Nice clean line coming through the final chicane there. Full on the power coming up to the top of the hill. Still less than a second separating these two drivers here. Running consistent times with his 19s though as we cross the 26-minute mark of the race. 34 minutes to go. We've already had most drivers do 1 pit here. Let's hop on board with Clive. He shouldn't need to pit here at all as he comes down through the S's. As long as you don't call me Paul DeResta, you can call me whatever you want, Stanley. Clive in P1, only 0.7 of a second separating himself and Rosario. Both drivers here in the 911s. Let's see who's going to find more grip coming out of the keyhole corners here. Now it looks like it's going to be Rosario getting a little bit more grip and a little bit more slipstream there. Trying to take down that delta as much as he can as they come down the hill up to the final chicane. Probably not going to be enough room unless Clive just gets on the brakes way too early for some reason. Almost does. Rosario all over the back bumper of Clive now. Hard on the brakes Rosario was as to not punt Clive off track there. All over the rear bumper of these two here. We're going to stick on board. Both drivers come up T1. Rosario's going to need to count or take an effect. The dirty air as he comes up to T1 there. Does have to back out a little bit more, loses a little bit of space between them. But still sitting all over the bumper of these two as they come through the S's. So shouldn't see a move happen down the S's, but we may see one happen as they come through the left-hander here. Both drivers keeping it clean. Rosario pushing wide just a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be penalty-worthy wide, though. It doesn't look like it managed to get away with that one clean. Kept it within the track limits. Bottle fed now. 2 seconds separating himself and a Method. And yellow flag. Yeah, Rosario had a spin. Rosario probably caught too much curb coming out of the keyhole corner. He used to spin his 911 into the wall there. He's going to drop down the grid order. So Rosario, second down into seventh with Jenny carrying more speed through the straight than him right now, picking up a little bit more time there. Unfortunate situation for Rosario, having just come out of the pits. Top on board with Captain here, still sitting in P6, 11 seconds separating himself and Method. But Method going into the pits now. And Captain, having already pitted earlier in the race here, is going to get an easy cut and an easy P5 away from Method while he sits in the pits to get new shoes and fuel. Jenny running consistent laps as well, finding 19s on those medium tires. Half a tank fuel left for her. Only 1.8 separating herself and Rosario as we cross the 29-minute mark of the race. We've got Nosfox here down in P8, starting to run laps on his own here. Not quite as consistent with the lap times as we would like to see. Running a 17.6 on his last lap. That would be his fastest lap time, but unfortunately running higher 20s there, as well as losing a little bit of time to the front runners there. Popping on board with Merchant is Mazda, sitting in P9, recently pitted as well to get fuel and tires. He's got a 3-second gap separating himself and Nos, but 11 seconds separating himself and Tinsley. Tinsley pushing it wide there on T1 a few laps ago and losing some positions. Went ahead and went into the pits, picked himself up medium tires earlier in the race. Half a tank of fuel left for him as well, with an 11-second gap between himself and Merch. Let's pick up on board with Method here again in his RSL1. Method opting for the soft tire this go around, trying to find a little bit more grip to pick up a little bit more time, crossing the 30-minute mark of the race, halfway down, halfway to go. Irk sitting in a P12, kind of running laps on his own here, consistent with the 20s, a few odd 21s and 22s here and there, but with an 8 and 9 second gap between him and the other drivers. As long as he keeps himself consistent, this should be his worst possible finish. Zester here, trying to make up from his offs that he had, running a 17.6. That's going to be his fastest lap time. Not quite enough to take it away from Tinsley. Tinsley still sitting on a 17.3 for the fastest lap time so far. Let's pick up on board with Yak. Yak, an unfortunate spin coming down the hill right here a few laps ago. Was in a battle for P2, has dropped down the pack now into last. But with fresh tires and a full tank of fuel, he's not going to have to worry about pitting for very long, so he should be able to pick up a cut from somebody here as well. Picking up out in front with some pit action, we've had some position changes yet again. Bottle-fed Mustang picking up P1 now. Medium tires, slightly worn, half tank of fuel on him, but we've got Sweaty not too far behind, only 2.5 seconds. Sweaty running soft tires on his Toyota, should be able to find a little bit more grip, but now we've got SoCal starting to creep up behind him, now less than a second separating him and Sweaty Palms. SoCal 0.6 of a second down, 0.5 of a second down, finding a little bit more speed coming down the S corners there than Sweaty, and a little bit more grip coming through the left-hander, now down to 0.4 of a second split. Gonna stick on board with these two here, so we're probably gonna see a little bit of action as they come through the keyhole corners, I expect to see a position change as we come along the back straight here. 0.4 of a second still separating. Sweaty finding a little bit more pace through the back half of the keyhole corners, though, increasing that to a 0.6 of a second. Thus, SoCal's got a little bit more work to do to close the gap that he lost through just one corner there. Does pick up the slipstream, though. Sweaty really revving that Toyota out to the max. Gets hard on the anchors coming up to the final chicane here. Closes the door on SoCal. He's going to stay within that half-second ahead range. Let's go ahead and drop down the field here, pick it up with Captain. Captain just now coming through the final chicane. 10 seconds separating himself and the podium leaders right now. But only 2 seconds separating himself and Rosario. Rosario also in a 911 on medium tires with a good amount of fuel left. 2 and 5 second deltas respectively to him. Picking back up on board with Jenny here. Jenny still trying to hold off the Nosfox as best as she can. Nosfox taking the inside line along T1. Jenny sees it, backs out a little bit, doesn't want to have any contact with him coming through a T1, which would spell certain death for either one of the drivers. Both of them making the right-handers. They get ready to come down the S's. Jenny giving up P6 there. Nosfox taking that inside line along T1 there earlier. But that Lexus does have some fight in it. Still only a half-second separating these two drivers as they come through the keyhole now. Mustang out in front, carrying a little bit more speed through it. Really growing that delta. Jenny, not as much confidence through the keyhole corners. I do suspect, though, that Fox being on soft tires and her being on mediums might have something to do with that there. But Jenny's still sitting in P7. Sizable gap separating herself and Merch. 6 seconds now, closing in on 7 seconds. But Merch, though, does have the fresher tire, does have a little bit more fuel, and being only 6 seconds behind, I do expect him to be able to take P7 away from Jenny when she inevitably goes into the pits first. She's going to need to pick up more fuel. Tinsley now picking up P9 after being in the back of the pack after his pits. Now only 9 seconds separating himself and Merch. Burning through a little bit more fuel than we're used to seeing through the Mercedes, though. He's really pushing that Mercedes hard, trying to pick up as much time as he can. Method only a few seconds behind, does pick himself up a half-second track limit penalty somewhere along the line, though, and Method goes wide. Method wide through T1 off into the grass. Method trying to cut across the track to safely rejoin along somewhere. Is going to lose a few positions there. Does manage to get through without taking any damage. Looks like he's got really dirty tires there. He takes the escape road trying to get back on almost. So Method's going to need to get on the brakes a little bit earlier with these dirty tires, otherwise he's going to push his car a little bit wide. That might have pushed him a little wide there. Let's see what happens. So just squeaked by, managed to keep the car over the curbs. Not going to take up another half-second penalty, but dirty tires sliding him off at the keyhole corners here, unfortunately. And we've got Yak coming around the keyholes now. Method trying to find some grip to get back onto the track. Finds it. And if you're going to have an off, at least you didn't hit anything and take any damage and make it worse. Good recovery there, Method. We'll come back up with you here in a little bit. We got Sweaty out in front now in P1. 1 second ahead of SoCal. SoCal trying to push that Aston as hard as he can to close the delta between himself and Sweaty. And Bottlefed now only 0.8 of a second behind as well. 1, 2, and 3 less than 2 seconds off of each other. Now we do have a back marker here getting ready to cause traffic for these three front runners. Gonna hop on board with Sweaty here as he contends with Method. Method moving off to the side, letting the top 3 go there. Well done to you, mate. Appreciate you seeing that. Sweaty coming through a T1 first. SoCal not far behind. Bottlefed picking up P3 there. All drivers coming through the right-hand corners. They get ready to go down the S's. Sweaty losing a little bit of time to SoCal there through the S corner. SoCal just carrying more speed. That 1 second dropping down to a 7/10 of a second split. Let's check in with the rest of the field here before these guys pop over to the back straightaway. We got Captain here 6 seconds off of the podium leaders. A little bit of a lag issue with Method there, it looks like. Might have freaked out Captain a little bit. Captain holds on though and comes cleanly through the keyholes. Rosario not far behind. Rosario sitting at P6. 4 seconds here makes no difference separating either side of him right now. Nas Fox enjoying a 6-second gap between himself and Jenny. Jenny on the medium tire just not able to find as much grip as the Mustang can on its soft tire ahead of her. And now we've got Merch closing the gap behind 3.5, probably going to close down to a 3.4 before we get up to the final chicane here, and it does. 11 seconds separating P8 and 9, that would be Merch and Tinsley. Tinsley running consistent laps nonstop. Save for lap 21, we had a 1:37 there, and I don't see a pit marker with it. I believe that's going to be when he had his off at T1. Tinsley, commentator's curse, running a little bit wide through the final chicane there. Does hold on to the car though. Comes across the line at speed as it gets ready to come up to T1 again. A little more gingerly through it this time. Medium tire starting to let go just a little bit. 12 seconds separating himself and Merch. Let's pop back on board with Clive, one of our VPR sub drivers. Love having the Victory Pace guys here in the lobbies, putting on a show for us along with the Foxes and everybody else. Clive sitting in 10th place, running consistent 19s, 8 seconds separating himself in P9. But now we have Irk starting to make up a little bit of time now. 3.6 seconds separating these two drivers. And Zester finally getting out of the P14, probably do some pits. Picking up a little bit of damage, though, to the front driver's side, so not able to maximize the speed on track right now. Zester sitting in P12, and then we've got Yak in P13 right now. Oops. Alright guys, pop that back up here. So Sweaty still sitting out in front. I do believe he has held on to P1 longer than anybody right now. SoCal not too far behind, really eating through those soft tires. That front left side is practically gone for his soft tires here. Same story with Sweaty, just a little bit better on the soft tire. We've got Bottle Fed here on the mediums, Captain on the mediums. So no doubt we're going to see another position change here soon. Let's see what Sweaty's going to do. Sweaty's probably going to stay out for one more lap, I would imagine. He does. Sweaty's going to stay out. SoCal's going to go ahead and have the pits. SoCal's soft tires are gone, so he's going to go ahead and pit, and that's going to give Bottle Fed and Captain the opportunity to take P2 and 3, respectively. Let's see where Rosario is. Rosario just crossing the line, also going to get a cut on SoCal going into the pits. Nosfox burning down his soft tires as well. SoCal now coming out of the pits. Let's see what he picked up for himself here. SoCal picking up fresh, soft tires. We've lost Method. Lavenia, appreciate the follow. Thank you for coming around and watching the racing. Just still got Sweaty Palm sitting out in front, but I would imagine this is going to be his pit lap here. It is. He's going to go ahead and get rid of those worn out soft tires. TCR captain's going to go ahead and stay out. He's got plenty of medium tire fuel left here, so he's going to go ahead and take a P1 away. So another leader position change. Now we've got Captain Blade out in front, Sweaty and Bottle both going in to pit those tires and to fill up fuel. Same with Rosario also going in for the fuel. Box pitting. What's Jenny going to do? Jenny's going to stay out. Jenny instantly moving up to P2, taking the pit cut from everybody. However, Jenny's fuel light is on. Jenny will have to pit after this lap to get more fuel, and her medium tires are practically gone as well. Not sure if this strat's going to pay off for her. 42 minutes down in this race, less than 18 minutes to go. We'll see what kind of cut she gets when she goes into the pits here. Merch picking up P3 now. Very well done with his soft tire management. Less than a quarter tank of fuel left, though. We've got Sweaty coming out of the pits first. He's going to pick up P4, not losing too many positions to everybody. Tinsley making his way up to P5. Fuel light is flashing, though. I would not expect to see him run another lap. I wouldn't want to see him go into the pits for fuel. The Mercedes being as thirsty as it is. And SoCal now less than a second behind Tinsley. SoCal having gotten fresh tires and fuel, but does have front end damage, so is losing a little bit of time to Tinsley, even though he was within the slip. He's going to have to wait for that damage to go away before he can start picking up a little bit more top end coming down the back straight. That's going to give Bottlefed enough time to come up onto his bumper. SoCal protecting the inside line coming through the final chicane. Very clean protection that he had right there. He's going to manage to hold on to P6. Bottlefed not going to make it easy for him, sitting all along the bumper there in P7. Both drivers coming up to T1 here. Let's see if Bottlefed's going to let out a little bit. Dirty Air coming up to T1. He does. Bottlefed backs out just a little bit now. Now half-second gap separating these two drivers from before we did have Bottlefed all over the bumper of SoCal there. Rosario sitting at P5 watching the action unfold in front of them, hoping they're going to battle a little bit more. Should slow them down and give him enough time to pick it up. Live making his way back up the grid order here with some fresh medium tires and some more fuel in the tank. Picking up P6, getting ahead of Nosfox there in his Mustang, P7. And Jenny taking her pit, dropping down to P8. She does have a 6-second gap to Merch, though. And Merch also on a fresh pit stop. But both Jenny and Merch are going to stay out. We've got Erk here in his NSX wearing down his medium tires, less than a quarter tank of fuel left in it as well. No need for him to pit anytime soon, though. He still has a few laps to go. But we have Tinsley here down in P11. 1 second behind off of Erk. Picked up some fresh soft tires, full tank of fuel. He should run to the end of the race now. Let's hop on board with Zester. We haven't checked in with him in a little bit. Picking up a 3-second, no doubt, pit line penalty, unfortunately. Did just come out of the pits. We can see with fresh soft tires and a little bit of fuel that he managed to pick up there. 2 seconds separating himself and Yak. Yak picking up a 1-second penalty. Track limits. So he'll have to go ahead and serve that as he's got Sweaty bearing down on him behind, coming down the back straightaway. So Yak coming up to the pit line now, going to go ahead and serve his 1-second penalty. That's going to go ahead and get the back marker out of Sweaty's way. We've got Zester making way for Sweaty as well. And Captain's in the pits. Front runner is in the pits. Sweaty Palms coming through the final chicane now. Sweaty already pitting. Fresh soft tires and a full tank of fuel. He's not going to have to pit anymore. So Sweaty taking P1 away from the captain. SoCal and Bottlefed also coming down the hill, crossing the start-finish line. Captain just now coming out of the pits. He's still got pit limiter on. He's through it now. Crossing the pit line, though, not paying attention to it, picking up a 3-second penalty. Tries to protect the inside line off the SoCal. Not going to make it easy for him to take that P2, but he does take it. So Captain's going to slot in behind SoCal there, P3, and block off BottleFed down the S's here. And BottleFed, little bit of a lockup, though, coming right up to the Captain's bumper. So Captain still with that 3-second penalty. BottleFed 1 second behind. But with his 3-second pit line penalty, he is going to lose several positions to the cars behind him here. BottleFed taking P3. Rosario will also take P4 away from him. Captain dropping down to P5, 10 seconds separating himself from P6. But that gap is, as you see, sure to drop because the penalty system takes forever to compensate in this game. 10 seconds dropping down to a 5-second gap between Captain and the Fox now. Nos Fox finding a little bit more consistency in the Mustang. I see more 18s up there than anything else. Good job to you. Tinsley still with the fast lap though at 1:17.3. Jenny taking P7 away from Merch there. Last we checked in with her, she was running P8 and running her fastest lap yet. Dipping into the 17s with 17.848. 11 seconds separating her and Merch now. Less than 1.5 seconds separating Merch and Tinsley. Merch picking up a little bit of grass there. Coming through T1. He's going to have to back out of it a little bit. That's going to give Tinsley the chance to close that gap down to less than a second now. The top on board with Clyde here. 5 sitting almost 5 seconds ahead of Tinsley right now in P10. Does have himself over 30-second gap between himself and Irk. Zester having their own battle back here for P11 right now. Zester trying to make a move along an inside line, coming up the hill up to the right-hander. Thinks better of it. It's going to slot in behind. Zester, little squirrely coming through the right-hander here as both drivers come down the S corners. Has to back out a little bit. He's going to lose a little bit of that space that he had closed there between himself and Irk. Both drivers cleanly coming through the left-hander here as they come up to the keyhole corners. Irk finding a little bit more speed and pace through the keyhole, increasing that half second now down to... up to almost 9/10 of a second. But here's Zester finding a little bit more pace coming out of the keyhole corners, having that delta now 0.4 of a second. And finding a little bit more slipstream behind Irk. Should be able to drop that down as well. Irk holding the outside line. Still holding the outside line. Not sure there's enough room for anybody to make a move here, so they're going to go ahead and line up, take the outside in through the final chicane here, and Zester's going to set up to try to make a move on the next lap. Yakin picking up another 1 second track limit penalty here. Was trying to pick up a little bit of slipstream from Jenny in front, but the penalty is going to knock him out of that range, unfortunately. Yak following up our field here in a 13th. Out in front, Sweaty running away with this race as we are past the 50-minute mark now. SoCal 9 seconds behind, but BottleFed not giving up in P3, less than a second behind a SoCal right now. This is going to be a battle that we're going to stick on board with here for a few minutes. SoCal, a little squirrely coming through the left-hand corner there. Drivers also have a traffic to deal with here. A little side-by-side from SoCal and BottleFed. BottleFed pushing it around the outside, takes P2 away from SoCal, who's going to slot into P3. SoCal pushing the corners a little bit wide here. Soft tires not worn that much. That's going to give Rosario an opportunity to come through a little bit cleaner. Both drivers having a drag race down the back straightaway here. SoCal protecting the inside line. Who's going to get on the brakes first? The SoCal protecting the inside there. That's the move that you make coming through the final chicane. Trying to find his way through the traffic there. Makes no problem. Zester, Rosario, a little tap along the inside, holds on to the car. Has to back out a little bit. So 2, 3, and 4 are lining up here. Rosario still all over the bumper of SoCal right now. The back marker drivers there. We've got, who do we have there? Behind Rosario. TCR Captain. Captain trying to find his way around Zester. Zester getting blue flagged for sure. We see the blue lights on right now. Diabolically keeping his foot into the floor, trying to keep as much time from growing as he can between himself and P13, where Yak is right now. So Bottlefed still sitting out in front of SoCal right now. Rosario with a little bit of a tap to SoCal earlier at the beginning of the lap. Zester trying to make a brave move along the inside there. Cuts a little bit of curb. Wonder if he's going to pick himself up a half-second penalty for that one. We'll check in here in a couple minutes. I want to stick on board with Rosario and SoCal right now. Rosario going to try to make that move along the inside at T1. Very risky move. Does it cleanly. SoCal slotting in behind now in P4. Rosario, the back marker here, he's going to have to contend with as these drivers come down the S's. Rosario having to back out a little bit. That's going to give SoCal an opportunity to close the gap and close that delta between them. Irk taking along the outside line. Rosario able to get around. Now SoCal having to deal with the back marker traffic in P11 right there. And off! Who was that? Oh, we had a massive off there earlier. Was that SoCal? Oh, I think it was Irk. I think Irk had himself an off and he has disconnected from the lobby, unfortunately. Stewards will have to review that one because he did look like he just rocket shipped right off of the keyholes there into the wall. Sweaty sitting out in front, enjoying a 10-second gap. It's a P2 now, where Bottlefed is now sitting. Bottlefed running a little wide there, coming up the hill through the right-hander. Soft tires starting to wear out a little quicker. You can really tell he's starting to push that car a little bit more. Rosario, less than 0.4 of a second off him now, less than 0.3 of a second off him now. Sit on board here with these two. Is Rosario all over the bumper of Bottlefed right now. Gonna be able to make a move along the inside? Maybe. Looks like we're gonna have ourselves a drag race coming down the back straight here. We are. Bottlefed's gonna go ahead and protect the inside line. Captain, not sure which car to follow. Bottlefed not carrying as much speed as Rosario down the back straight. He's going to go ahead and slide in behind. He's going to make that move along the inside again. And Captain trying to also make a move as well. To 2, 3, and 4. Bumper to bumper to bumper here as they come top of the hill down across the start-finish line. Sweaty still sitting out in front with 10-second gap, but Rosario, Bottlefed, and Captain half of a second separating these three drivers right now. All three of them cleanly through T1. Captain wanting to try to make a move along the inside, though, as they get ready to come up along the right-hander. Who's going to do it first? Captain pushing a little bit too wide into Bottlefed. Robert, lap 42. Bottlefed trying to regain control of the car here after a little bit of contact that he had through the right-hander. Bottlefed, that unfortunate bit of contact can knock him down into 6th place. Picking back up with Jenny here in the Lexus, still in P7. Tinsley not far behind in P8, though, 7-second gap separating them as we are 56.5 minutes through this race. As long as Jenny runs consistent laps and doesn't have any issues, she should have a nice finish in P7 there. Tinsley, a couple unfortunate incidents throughout the race has knocked him down into P8. Same with Clive, not able to fully recover from that off at T1 lap 1 earlier, down into 9th place now. Not far behind him, though, we've got Murch in 10th, less than 2 seconds behind off of Clive right now. And Yak moving off to the side for Clive there. Let's hop back on board with Murch, not too far behind off of him. Welcome along, Monica. Murch going to go ahead and cross the line in 10th, running consistent lap times of 19s and 20s here. Zester. Looks like Zester and Yak are going to be a lap down off of everybody right now, unfortunately. Zester, though, running consistent 17s for the most part. We do have the errant 20 here every now and then. Yak running 19s and 20s as well. Let's pop back on board with P1. We have 2 minutes left in this race. Sweaty Palm sitting out in front, almost 10 seconds ahead of Rosario. He's managed to get himself back up into P2. Captain not far behind there on P3 with an asterisk so far. SoCal in P4. Getting ready to come through T1 again here as well. Nosfox not far behind, 1.5 seconds in P5. All drivers trying to make it cleanly through the right-hander here. 1.5 minutes left to go in the race. Nosfox in 5th place. Bottlefed 1 second behind in 6th and closing the gap. Not able to carry as much speed through the left-hander going up the hill, though. Drops that second down to 1.5 seconds separating them. Jenny's still in P7, though, losing a little bit of time, though, to Tinsley now. Tinsley was 7 seconds off. Now we're down to a 4-second split between them. 1 minute left of racing. It looks like Jenny's going to get one more lap through here. Tinsley losing a little bit of time now, 5 seconds separating what was a 4-second gap between them. So Tinsley should finish P8 here. Clive's going to go ahead and come in a P9. And Murch is in a P10. Let's pop back on board with Shveti. Running his last lap here, no doubt. 10 seconds left in the race. Sweaty Palm sitting out in front ahead of Rosario. Rosario is going to go ahead and pick up. We're not actually going to say that because TCR Captain less than a second behind. This is a battle that we're going to stay on board for the final lap here. Captain trying to get into the slipstream of Rosario. Both drivers in the 911, so it's going to come down to nothing but slipstream and a braking point. 0.4 of a second. Is he going to make a dive? Oh, dive there. Looks like Captain's going to go ahead and settle for a podium finish tonight in 3rd place, giving Rosario the 2nd place finish. Congratulations, both those drivers there. Top on board with Bottlefed as he comes through the final chicane now down the hill. Getting ready to cross start finish line. Bottlefed going to be in 4th place tonight. Nosfox also coming down the hill. Going to take 5th with SoCal in 6th. Not far behind. Jenny also coming down the hill now, getting ready to cross start finish line. Managing fuel very well in the Lexus. Going to go home with a P7 tonight. Tinsley had an excellent start to his race and a couple unfortunate offs. Going to put him into P8. However, with a 17.1, he is going to take the fastest lap of the day. And Clive, our sub, coming in a P9. Outstanding race by everybody. Let's go ahead. Let's give a shout out to our winners here. Guys, go ahead. Shout out Sweaty there. Shout out Rosario and Clive. Hell of a race by everybody. We're going to go ahead and take a break here real quick, guys, and then I'm going to jump on into the pro lobby, and then your boy going to race and probably make a horrible show of it. But thanks for coming out, Pro-Am. Stick around to watch me race in the pros.